Moth News Live. I'm Keith Walsh. Coming up in the next hour, Moth News in conversation with Kieran Brady about the final days of his father's life in an Irish nursing home. A story that once again raises urgent questions about dignity, care, and state responsibility. They don't have any. But first, as always, let's start with the stories making headlines this week in Ireland. Here's your news in brief as I make myself look more professional by fiddling with my earpiece. In Tuam, the exhumation is underway. So excavation work has finally begun at the site of the former mother and baby home in Tuam in County Galway. Authorities are attempting to recover the remains of almost 800 children, believed to be buried in a mass grave beneath what was once a septic tank. The operation follows years of pressure from survivors and campaigners and comes amid wider efforts to reckon with Ireland's dark institutional past. For many, this is not just a dig, it's the beginning of a long-awaited truth recovery and some kind of healing journey. Now, let's remember what this is all about. So the Tuam Baby Home, if you were a young lady and you weren't married, the Catholic Church thought that you shouldn't get pregnant outside of wedlock. It was the law. If you got pregnant outside of wedlock, your daughter, either you bring them to one of these mother and baby homes run by the Catholic Church, but you didn't really have a choice because the priest would turn up and take the child from you. I heard a story of a friend of mine whose mother, I mean, she actually ended up dying by suicide. I think she was in her 60s. She got pregnant outside of wedlock and she went to England because she knew that she didn't want to go into one of these homes. A priest followed her to England. A Catholic priest followed her to England and brought her back. So we think about the Catholic Church and their involvement in these homes and what they did, but there was always collusion with the state. The state had to be involved. A priest can't just go to another country and bring a child back because he wants to. I mean, the authorities have to allow that. People can't die in a mother and baby home and be buried in a septic tank without the local council knowing. The mother and baby home were contracted to the local council. So if you're wondering why these things are only coming to light, we're only talking about them now, it takes time for it all to come out. Why things are being buried, why information is being redacted, is because if you think about who was on the council in Galway at the time, in Tuam, who were the government of the time? Was it Fine Gael? Was it Fianna Fáil? Who's the government of today? Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil. There's legacy issues. There's egos at stake here. These people do not want to tarnish the reputation of their government. They're directly linked to the deaths of these children and mothers and whoever else was buried unceremoniously in that septic tank by a religious order. The religious order who wouldn't bury people in a grave if they died by suicide or if they hadn't been baptized. A child wasn't allowed to be buried in a graveyard on the site of a Catholic church graveyard. They'd have to be buried in a, I don't even know what they call them, but they weren't allowed to be buried in their own graveyard because they hadn't been baptized into the church, or if they died by suicide, or if the Catholic deemed them not worthy to be buried on their grounds. Yet the same Catholic Church, following the death from, we don't know how these babies died, we don't know how these women died, but they were buried and dumped in a septic tank. That's what we're dealing with. So we just need to be really clear. So this doesn't get lost in politics and, chat and, talk about digging and how much and how many. These are people. These aren't numbers. These are people's bodies. And this was an institution that did it, aided and abetted by our state, our country. And I know the minister came out after there was the review came out of the mother and baby homes a couple of years ago. And he said that we were all responsible for what happened here with the mother and baby homes. And I'd just like to say to everybody and to the minister that no, we weren't all responsible. Because if you lived in a small town in Ireland and you didn't hand your child over to these people, you'd be excommunicated. And to be excommunicated in Ireland in the 30s and the 40s and the 50s and the 60s and the 70s and the 80s meant you were banished. If you had a small business, you'd go out of business. Nobody would do business with you. If you weren't allowed to go to church, you were in exile. We didn't have a choice. This was solely the government and the Catholic Church colluding to make money from selling babies, to make money from having young people work as slaves doing laundry that was charged, like was paid for by rich people. That's what happened. And that's why it's taken so long. Anyway, speaking of reform, and I'm sure this will be fine. A new independent body, FISRU, has officially replaced the Garda Síochána Ombudsman Commission under sweeping reforms passed last year. The move has been pitched as a fresh start for police accountability in Ireland, but civil rights groups are warning that real change will depend on how much power FISRU actually has. The Irish Council for Civil Liberties said it welcomes reform in principle, but warns that oversight without teeth risks being little more than performance. The big question is, will FISRU investigate the Gardaí or merely interpret their behaviour? Only time will tell. Well, we've got a great track record in all this. I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm sure there's no reason why they're changing from the Ombudsman to FISRU. I'm sure no old files will be lost in the change. I'm sure it's fine. Why should I doubt the success of this? And finally, US tariffs could cost 75,000 Irish jobs, but is this a real story? I mean, Irish ministers are warning that proposed US tariffs on EU goods, possibly as high as 30%, could devastate key export sectors and put up to 75,000 Irish jobs at risk. I'd look closer to home, maybe have a look at Enterprise Ireland and what they're doing and how jobs are being lost there, hand over fist, and money. Finance Minister Pa Donoghue has called it the worst case scenario. Employment Minister Peter Burke has admitted the true impact is very difficult to assess. So is there a real threat, or is this a bit of economic theatre? Here's my take. By projecting these job losses, the government is putting pressure on Brussels and Washington, softening the public for possible sacrifices, which we might have to make, and potentially setting itself up to claim credit if the danger passes. They say, oh, well, we were aware of it. Now it's fine. You know, put the house on fire and then like put it out and then go, there you go. We told you there was a fire. Now we put it out. It's great. It's not necessarily scaremongering, but certainly a bit of strategic messaging, we'll say. And finally, for now, Julie Grace, we spoke to her. Julie Grace is a very, I'm going to call her a famous whistleblower. She knows all too well the price of speaking out. A former public servant, she exposed wrongdoing in Galway City Council and has been fighting the system ever since. We have a short clip from our conversation earlier this week. We will return to Julie's story in more detail either later on today or in a future show, so watch out for that. And I did put it out live yesterday, so you can catch up on that on X, on our platform X. Just look for MOTH News on X. And then, actually, I'll bring Al in now to watch this with me. Al, you'll be interested in this. This is... we'll get to your whereabouts and your globe-trotting antics in a moment, but I just wanted you to watch this because I think you'd find it interesting. This is Julie Grace, a whistleblower, talking about she had worked for Galway Council. She was removed from that job. She then got another job, which she did quite well, and you'll see what happens when you mess with the local authorities, with the establishment. If you're a whistleblower, this is what happens.
Clued Housing built a lovely development there of 40 sheltered accommodation plus a nice housing estate. They got into trouble because they weren't managing it, and they were ordered by the courts to get a professional manager, and that's how I got the job. Not that I had a reference, but I was one of the few in the country at the time with professional management qualification and experience. I went in, and in a matter of weeks, I turned it around. The councillors brought it up at Galway County Council. They were thrilled. This thing had been from being not going well to going very well. It was now desirable, and I was complimented on the job that I did because I'm hands-on. And as I said, I had the tacit knowledge, I had the building knowledge, I had the bunch of skills that you need to do the job. One of the senior managers in Galway City Council heard where I was. She contacted Cluj, it was a she, and said, get rid of your woman or you'll get no more units from us. And at that time they were expanding into Galway, Cluj were. Get rid of her because I ruffled her feathers, and that she said I was causing shit for the council, asking questions and taking them on. So that's what they did. Now, they did it very covertly. They had their way in Cluj of getting rid of you. And it took them a long time to tell me, because I didn't put in the first book what happened, because it took them a while to come out and tell me exactly what happened. But they made it in a way that I just gave up and I said, okay, I'm out.
So they made it difficult for you to do your job.
Like coming 3 times a day, and my line manager was saying, I need to know what you're doing, Julie, so I can supervise you, because she hadn't a bally clue. And just that kind of
Uncomfortable
harassment.
bullying.
Yeah, coming in, demanding to use a computer, this kind of old stuff.
So did you end up in a
Nonsense.
position where you feel sick to even go into
Oh,
work?
I couldn't take. I had to come home with a blind and headache. One evening, my husband said, "For God's sake, throw back those keys. Leave there. You don't need that hassle." And I actually loved that job, because it was again a combination of using my skills, because we had elderly people, which people who had, and I loved it.
So Al, greetings, Al, from I believe you're in America. We'll talk to you about that in a moment. So that's Julie, one of our great whistleblowers here on this island. They do a great service for this country. She was working for Galway City Council. She wouldn't toe the line. They got rid of her. She ended up getting another job, doing that job very well. Somebody got wind of the fact that she was working this job. They made a phone call and they said to this government-funded housing organization, they said, if you don't get rid of her, we're not giving you any more units. So they had to get rid of her, and she was basically bullied out of that job as well. That's the price you pay for sticking to your principles in Organisation Ireland, even if you're very good at your job.
Wow. Hey, Keith.
How are you? I mean,
shocked.
Yeah. I mean, are you shocked?
I think I am, because it's like, just when you think we can't go down the level, we kind of seem to do it.
This is like,
just like,
yeah, this is the lowest we can go, isn't it? Apparently there's a basement below the floor.
Yeah, sorry for my color here, because I need to go messing around with it, but it's like, it's 3:15 a.m. for me, so everything is in.
I tell you what, I know you're over in you're in Silicon Valley. I'd say stay there. Don't ever come back to Ireland. It's a shit show. How are you getting on? I know you were doing some talk in front of a big collection of delegates. What was that about, and what's going on over there? What should we know about what's happening in the world of business as an Irishman being ambassador for us out there in the business world?
Yeah, still promoting Ireland, right? I mean, it's hard to. Firstly, it's hard to escape, because first time I start talking, everybody knows I'm Irish anyway. So that's kind of the starting point, right? Yeah, look, the general consensus is okay. I'll start paraphrasing. So, are you guys going to start winning your country back? Is the kind of general vibe I'm getting, right? It's just kind of like, okay. I had one meeting in particular where I think I mentioned this as well to somebody else in the conversation 2 days ago, where they started bringing up, feeds. So it's like
those pictures of what Ireland looks like today and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Well, the guy that's going for president, what's up with him? Another new scandal. Is this the best you guys can do? Footage in Dublin, the GPO,
riots, marches.
Riots, marches. The hassle on the streets. I think there was one guy whose Cork Day asked for. He was like, "Geez, man, what's going on in Cork?" It's like, showing this footage that went viral of these guys attacking a home and stuff. And I hadn't even seen some of this actually, So it just all leads to a kind of
a picture of a country.
A picture of where we're heading, but more kind of nostalgic, where people then are speaking to Ireland 20 years ago when I went there. It was a beautiful place. It was the most wonderful people to meet. It was wonderful to spend time in a country where I have 25% Irish on my wife's side and 52% Irish on my side and stuff. And it's kind of, it's nice to hear that side of the story. And then it's kind of saddening really to hear, people kind of commenting on where the country is today, And yeah, it's the people still have hope, but they're kind of saying, look, can you just sort this out? But I was listening to a number of your interviews, and it's funny because not funny, haha, but it's kind of paradoxically, they go to the government leadership, corruption. And as you said, it's becoming the norm, where the elites are just running riot. That's the general consensus.
Yeah. I mean, it is interesting because the pictures coming out are, a lot of these, you're going to get the extremes that are going to make the algorithm or whatever. You're going to see these extremes, and you're going to see the marches, you're going to see the GPO, and you're going to see people, attacking houses. You're going to see Ballymena, you're going to see all that. That's what you're going to see. But the real violence and the real trouble in Ireland is happening in Leinster House and the government departments. And you look at we call them, I don't like the term whistleblowers. We need to come up with a better term, because these people are ambassadors for a better Ireland, and they're being shut down. They're being removed from their jobs. These are people who do a good job and are actually, because of ego, because of we still have a country where there's fiefdoms. There's departments within departments. There's people holding on to their desk. There's people holding on to the desk in their team. And you look at the HSC, you look at the council, city council in Galway. The last thing on their mind is actually, for a county council, it seems the last thing on their mind is actually serving the public service. The title of the job is public servants. That seems to be the public seem to be a nuisance to these people who call themselves public servants. And when somebody stands up for the public and says, no, this isn't right, you're treating this, when you watch the full interview with Julie, she talks about a situation where the Galway City Council decided to evict a lady who ended up dying by suicide because of the stress caused by the county council. That's what you're dealing with. So it's more important for them to save face, evict this woman because she said, no, this isn't good enough, the service isn't good enough, she asked questions. It's more important for them to shut her down. Meanwhile, there was actually in Galway City, there was people killing each other up the road. They weren't hassling those people. No, they were looking at low-hanging fruit. They made an example of her, and that poor woman, Breed Cummins is her name. Just to even just recognize that she died by suicide, and that was directly because of the stress that the city council, the public servants put a member of the public under so much stress that she died by suicide. That's where the real issues are. So the riots can continue as long as these people get to hold their positions,
I think you hit on a very important point. I'm going to have to fact check this, right? But when was that terminology introduced to whistleblower? It's kind of like when somebody is calling out, it was called ethics. When I was fucking growing up, right? It was the moral high ground, or you'd have a quotation where an indicator of moral and ethics is that you'll do something when somebody's not looking, right? Okay, or you'll do the right thing when nobody's looking at you,
yeah, perfect,
or something like that.
And we're fine with that.
Yeah, the whistleblower thing is fucking frustrating. And look, we've had quite a few people, and you're doing demonstrative work exposing these people that are punishing them for saying the right thing is the only way to word it, right? They're being punished
for just for saying this isn't good enough. She was doing a job where she worked with people who were being housed by the council, and she was coming back to them with issues. She was being a proper public servant. She was trying to serve the public. She wasn't going out there defending the city council, which you find a lot of the time happens now. She was bringing work back to them, and she was annoying people. And when you're young and you get that first job and it's a summer job, and some old lad comes up to you and goes, listen, this is the pace we work at now. Everybody works at this pace. You won't have any trouble as long as you just pack those shelves nice and slowly, bud. And then you kind of, you know what's up. Do you know what I mean? And that kind of seems to just be the way it is in every council, every department. You toe the line or you're out, and you don't cause trouble. And we're a little bit lazy, and we've got big egos, so just be mindful of that.
Yeah. It'll blow you off the map.
Yeah,
basically.
People running things in this country are really bad at running things. Do you know what I mean? You'd have them fired in the morning. And I should know I'm bad at shit. You know what I mean? And but these people put me. Do you know what I mean? I'm a whiz compared to these people. You know what I mean? So you just wonder, that's where the change has to happen. And I think it's helpful for those people in charge, for the people of Ireland to think that the change has to happen on the streets, the troublemakers, to this. Nobody wants to be a guard anymore. Nobody wants to you know, the county council, all the county councils are sewn up, and they can't actually affect any change. And there's no transparency. There's no transparency in the HSC. When's the children's hospital ever going to be finished? Things are so bad and so stuck and so badly run that's where the change has to change has to happen. Until that change happens, we might as well be pissing against the wind.
Yeah, like, I can't disagree with that, and I think that's another very valid point. It's the trade-off of people are wondering, how is it that we're not able to get people into these roles or into these positions to, there's a shortage, right? And then you're kind of looking at them, because you've created a fucking vacuum of where if somebody goes into that role as a police officer or Gardaí, or in a department where they actually want to help, if they actually do help, they're turned into the bad guys, right? Because they're doing the right thing. They're calling out the fucking corruption.
Troublemaker.
So wake the fuck up. Like, you're seen as a troublemaker because you're saying, stop. You hired me to do something. Now you're telling me not to do it because I'm a whistleblower if I'm doing my job. And you're kind of sitting there like, what the fuck? Like, where did this fucking go wrong? It's out of whack. But the problem is we're sending a message to the next generation of the moral compass, right? Where you've got that moral compass of, it's kind of like the person who shouts loudest and who is the most vicious. And we've spoken about this in terms of the inequality in terms of legal system, right? Where if you don't have access to financial support or backing, you're fucking in deep shit, right?
The most important thing is,
and that needs to be remembered.
Yeah, the most important thing is your role. What level you're at, what you're being paid, how quickly you can get up the ranks. That's the most important thing. Not doing a good job. And RT was a prime example of that. The most important thing was, the people who got into positions. The most important thing for them now is their pension. They're looking after them. They don't want people like me coming looking for money that might come out of the pension pot. So that's the issue. And as an example of that, I've my own arguments for RT, and I was looking for, so it's RT social welfare revenue. I have the discussion. I was looking for something from social welfare since last, March, I think was the last time I emailed them. Didn't hear anything back. During the week, I put up a video talking about it and saying, look, lads, call me, why you, I don't hear from you anymore, just a kind of a funny sort of, jokey social welfare RT, guys, where are you? Like, we don't talk anymore. And the next morning I had an email back from social welfare. I put up the video. I got about like 50,000 views, got 100,000 views on TikTok, 50,000 views on Instagram. People were interested. And the next morning, having waited since like last year, I emailed them the last time in March, heard nothing back. Just a coincidence, I'm sure. I got an email from them the next morning after I put the video up. I mean, that is like, Jesus, lads, are you that thick?
Fuck. But at least they're listening.
Yeah, but they're not. Yeah, there's a difference between listening and actually doing something. Now, finally, before I let you go, breaking news. This is like, so this is so MOTH exists because let's use this as an example. I'm going to say this picture. This is mainstream media. We're MOTH. This is mainstream media. Oh man!
What the fuck? I fucking serious. This is a joke.
This is a story. Like,
what is this?
This is a story. So I looked at that and I thought, you know what? That's like mainstream media, and we're seeing things, and they're putting out stories about the fact that Stevie Wonder is blind. Honestly, this is a story. This story actually happened for Stevie Wonder because of rumors. People were saying Stevie Wonder's not blind. You can clearly see him looking at that guy. These rumors were circulating about whether Stevie Wonder was actually blind or not. He had to come out with a statement to say, lads, no, I am blind.
What? You're fucking kidding me, man. I missed this.
I'm not. This is a real story.
Man.
This isn't Waterford Whispers. This isn't, like, this is real. This isn't The Onion. This is like an actual story. So when when if don't be worried about how Ireland is going down the toilet. Just make sure that you find. But the thing about it is, you think, well, of course Stevie Wonder's blind. This is a non-story. But there are people on this earth that believe the earth is flat. So it's not that much of a stretch to think that Stevie Wonder might be blind. You know what I mean?
This does fucking. I'm very, very seldom I'm speechless, but this is fucking crazy. I mean, this just validates, man. Like, the fucking journalists have lost the plot, like deep fake times 1 million, what the fuck? Like,
But it's not even fair. It's not even a joke. It's just,
Jesus Christ, the world is fucking imploding, and let's do a headline. Stevie Wonder says he is blind. I mean, they just put in the fucking they just put in the piss. They should just resign now. Honestly, the fucking MSM should just shut down.
I actually was talking to the lads here in the studio before, and one of them said actually there was someone went to see Stevie Wonder in concert, and Stevie Wonder said they were in London, and Stevie Wonder at some point in the gig said, "Oh, I'm going to do some sightseeing tomorrow around London." So I mean, why would a blind person go sightseeing, Al?
Fucking,
I might go sight hearing and sight touching and sight smelling, not sight. Obviously, he said he was going sightseeing. Of course, he's not blind.
Maybe he's using meta glasses or something like that, or some kind of funky fucking remedy. Jeez,
sounds like one of his tracks, "Funky Remedy."
Was it a whistleblower that highlighted that he might be blind? Fucking, seriously, great investigative journalism there, guys. Fucking brilliant. Yeah,
it's the No Shit Sherlock award of the day goes to Stevie Wonder.
The no shit Sherlock. Yeah, fucking yeah.
Well, of course, that's what a guy faking his blindness would say. Of course, he's saying he's blind. That's exactly what a fake blind guy would say.
What the fuck is next? Seriously.
Pope shit. A bear shits in the woods.
A bear took a shit in the woods. Yeah.
I do shit in woods. Pope says I do wear a hat.
What the fuck?
There you go. I thought I'd leave you that because I know you got up at 3 a.m. to join me. So
the moon is round.
The moon is round. Look,
what's our headline? What's our headline for next week? There was a sunrise in Ireland.
Round ball in the skies.
There's a sunrise. Seriously.
Met here and expect rain in Ireland at some stage.
I can't see who reported it. It just says news. So maybe
I didn't even want to give
it. Doesn't even matter. They probably all did it. Did it? Did Charlie Taylor break it? Is it a Charlie Taylor?
It was on the front page on the business.
Charlie Taylor exclusive.
Right. Good luck, man. We got
all right,
go.
Man.
Thanks very much.
See you on the other side.
Enjoy stateside. There you go. That's Al, and that's Stevie Wonder. So you heard it here first. Probably not first. Probably second. But yeah, Stevie Wonder is blind. How do I get? Oh, there you go. Thanks, man. There you go. Right. A slight change of tone and energy here. But thanks to Al there. He is in San Diego. He was in Silicon Valley. He is out there. I didn't mean to ask him about like new tech and all that kind of stuff. I thought it was much funnier just to talk about the fact that there's a story about Stevie Wonder saying he's blind. Much more important. Right, we turn to a story that has really, it's one of those stories that really affected me. I sat with Kieran Brady, who had sat with his father, James, as he died in a Wexford nursing home during COVID. For nearly 3 weeks, his father was confined to a room alone during COVID. We remember COVID. We had to stay in our little bubbles, family members. You choose who's going to be in your bubble. But we had each other. We had a small bubble, we'd 4, but we could go out. There was the 2 kilometer, the 5 kilometer, whatever it was at the time. Lockdown, semi-lockdown, hard lockdown. But anyway, so that's what was going on. But meanwhile, this man's dad is in a room on his own for 3 weeks. So his father died, Kieran was allowed in to hold his hand while he died, while the man's wife, Kieran's mother, could only watch from a screen. And at that point, 3 weeks later, the family still don't know why, but his dad was pretty much gone, you know. He described actually in the interview, which really struck me and stuck with me, how when he looked, so his father was lying back with his mouth open. And it struck me, it's just an image that stayed with me, because it struck him that he said the inside of his mouth looked so dry, like it was just like the whole thing was crusted and hardened. And so it made him think about, well, when was the last time this guy got a bit of water? When was the last time this guy ate? Like, how long has he been lying there with his mouth open? It just, and the image of that, you know, I don't know, it's just like, because you know, sometimes you wake up in the morning, you're just like, oh my God, like how long had he been there without getting drink? Or so that means no one had attended to, were they just letting him die? So look, I talked to him, we talked about what happened to his dad, James, and what it reveals about the Irish care system. And yeah, have a listen, have a watch of this. I will try and play the full interview either as part of this stream at the end, if I can manage the technology. I'm going to give it a go. If not, you'll be able to find it. I'll put it up straight away as soon. So just keep an eye on whatever platform you're watching this on. I started by asking Kieran about his dad.
Oh, sure, my dad, what could I say? Like everyone, I suppose, he was the best dad in the world. Very, very fit, very sporty man. Ran marathons, excellent golfer, excellent hurler, footballer.
Make you sick, Kieran, these lads.
You name it, he done it. He
good at everything, these lads.
Tried every kind of sport and excelled in them all. Very intelligent man. He once done an exam to become a miller, flour miller, and he used to always boast that he came second out of the whole of the Commonwealth in that examination. So he became a manager in a local flour miller here. That's what he done for his living. But he's a very intelligent man, very holy man, well respected in the town, well liked. And if I could be half the man he was, I'd be happy. You know, didn't drink till he was in his 50s. He said the only reason he started drinking was he used to go to the bar after the round of golf. He was buying rounds for all the boys. They were drinking pints. He was just getting a lemonade. So he said, "Feck that." So he decided he'd have a few pints.
He wasn't getting his money's worth.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's a great reason to start drinking.
Yeah.
Look, sounds like an absolute stand-up gentleman.
Yeah,
father, member of society. No reason why we shouldn't be looking to find out what happened to this man at the end of his life. And because we're led to believe you lead a good life, you do the right thing, you keep yourself fit, you keep yourself healthy, you keep yourself involved, you do as much as you can for yourself, and it'll get to a stage where you'll be looked after by your country. That's what we're told. And unfortunately, in this case, that did not happen. Can you take us back then to was it January 2021 and talk us through what happened to your dad in the nursing home, and maybe like if you start that wherever you want.
Well, I tell you what I do. I jump back even further to 2017 because my father ended up in a nursing home then.
Okay.
He had we couldn't get my father out of bed one morning in 2017. So myself and my brother, we knew there was something seriously wrong. So we carried him to the doctors in the car, brought him in, carried him in, brought him into the doctor. He couldn't speak right. He couldn't walk right. We knew there was something up. The doctor more or less said, "Nah, I can't find anything wrong with him." So we left the surgery and we decided to go straight to Wexford Hospital. So we went to Wexford Hospital. Anyway. But a long story short, he had a bleed on the brain, a stroke or whatever you want to call it. But he ended up there in Wexford Hospital for about 8 weeks. And they had him strapped into a chair at the last few weeks. We'd say the last 4 weeks. They wouldn't let him out of the chair, and they told us he couldn't walk. Now, I knew that wasn't true. because I had spoken to an orderly several times down there. I said, why can't you let him out of the chair? And they said, to be honest with you, he said, there's not enough staff here to look after all the patients in the wards.
Oh my God.
He said, we have to strap your father in because he will more than likely get up and wander around. And on the same hand, they were telling me he couldn't walk. But I did actually bring him to the toilet one day down there myself because he was wanting to go. I took him out of the chair, brought him to the toilet. He walked fine, brought him back, but I got reprimanded over it. I remember that. But anyway, a few weeks later, they called us into Wexford, and myself and my brothers and my mother, and there was 5 of them sitting around the table, and they said, he'll have to go to a nursing home. He can't walk. And his brain isn't right. So we argued, and we told him we had to walk in bathroom. We had all the stuff at home. I used to do the bathroom grants, so the whole house was laid out for him. But no, he had to go to a nursing home. So we said, right, go ahead, grant, and we'll see how it goes. So he went to a nursing home in Enniscorthy. And after about 2 or 3 days, he was flying around the place on a walker, flying around. I remember the head of nursing, she actually said to me, she said, you should have seen all the medication he was on when he came out of Wexford. She said, we're after changing all that. And he's sleeping at night time now. He's flying around the place. He's in right form. And we could see that ourselves. He kept saying to me then, as the days went by, you put me in here now, you better get me out of here, he said, because they're all mad in here, he used to say. You better bring me home. Now, this was killing me, mother. It was killing all of us. We used to have to leave him there in the evening. So we didn't know. I kept asking the head of nursing, is he sleeping all at night? Oh, yeah, we have him on the right medication now. He's sleeping at night. So I suppose he was there about 4 weeks. And I said to the brother, fuck this. Sorry for cursing. I said,
No. Feel free.
I said, I'm going to
Don't worry. This is an RT.
Yeah. I said, I'm going to have a chat with the head of nursing, or the head of nursing. So I went into her and I said, look, do you think he's bad enough to be here? Because we don't, or I definitely don't, I said. And she said, well, to be honest with you, she said, he's not too bad. I asked her, is he sleeping and all? She said, yeah. So I said, I think I want to take him out of here. Well, she said, that's not normally done. Well, I said, I can't leave him here any longer. I said, he's driving us all wrong trying to get out of here himself. So she said, bring him home for a weekend and see how you get on. So we brought him home anyway, and he was home for 2.5 years after that. Not a bother. So that's just from the start. That's the first experience of a nursing home.
Well, can I just linger on this a little bit?
Yeah.
So first of all, we have a man who's been strapped to a chair because there isn't enough staff.
Yeah.
The family been told he can't walk, even though the orderly said if they have to strap him to a chair, because if they don't strap him to a chair, he'll wander off. Yeah. I.e., he can walk. You've brought him to a toilet. You've seen him walk.
Yeah.
Once again, we see a family member being reprimanded for doing something with a member of their own family, which to me is, it seems like this whole thing of excluding anybody I've spoken to about this, Kieran, this whole thing of excluding family from decisions.
Yeah.
But if I tell you what, Kieran, and I'm sure you were the same. If I was with my dad and I brought him to the toilet and somebody reprimanded me for doing it, I'd probably punch them. Well,
to be honest with you, looking back on it now, if it happened now, I would punch him.
But you're probably shocked and surprised and not knowing, like, this seems.
Yeah, when you're in a situation like that, when your loved one is in someone else's care, you're afraid to open your door. You're afraid to say things because you say to yourself that when I leave here, are they going to not look after him as well as maybe they should and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's like going into a restaurant, handing the dish back because it's cold and you're worried then that there's something.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that
or something. Yeah.
Because I'd imagine, right, they're going to bring in the steak, throw it on the ground, jump up and down on it a few times and give back out to you. You know.
Exactly.
But like even when my father was in the nursing home, that first nursing home, I used to be up there twice a day because it's only up the road. And I'd sit there for hours. But you'd observe the goings on in the nursing home. You could see the people that had no family. They were all on one side of we'll say the dining room or the big room. They were all in their chairs, slumped like that, fast asleep. They were all drugged up to their eyeballs all day long, right? For certain, 100%. The same people every day. Yeah. No visitors. ever. You'd see people with their food left in front of them. Nobody feeding them. They're not able to feed themselves. You're observing all this stuff. I used to notice then, come the evening time, it could be, I don't know, 8 o'clock. I'd be still there with my father. Most of the visitors would be leaving. But I remember the nurses, or whatever you call them, and the boys, they used to have a kind of a race. 2 would have one wheelchair, 2 would have another wheelchair. They'd come in, they'd pick up a person. It was like a game to them. One of them would go up one hallway, up to the bedrooms. The other would go up the other hallway. And it was like they were racing. They'd come back and they'd be laughing. You got back there first. Then they'd grab another one and they'd go on and do the same thing again. I used to observe all this and say to myself, my God, what goes on when there's nobody here? You know?
Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't bear thinking about. Like those people that have no one to look out for.
But I mean, I'd like to ask you a question, man to man, like person to person.
Yeah.
If you think about somebody, I'd like your opinion on this. Okay, this is not like, I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I'm not saying anything. Anybody did anything. This is just me and you talking, and I'm just looking for your opinion because I have an opinion on it.
Mm.
If you went into a nursing home and there was somebody who had no family, and you observed them, and the food was put in front of them, but they weren't able to eat, and they had to be fed, but they weren't being fed.
Mm.
Would you think that, my impression, I would think that if you're through negligence, I mean, that patient is going to die sooner than they should if they're not being fed. So they're going to die they're being starved by neglect. So there's a sort of would you say there's some kind of like, they're happy for these people to die a bit sooner than they would?
Well,
like what, negligence and leading to death is manslaughter, isn't it?
Yeah. But
I'm not accusing anybody. I'm just,
I know,
observation, you know.
But the standards, like the things you see for people that have no visitors, especially, that's what I used to notice. They're just left there. Like they must just give up themselves. Their life might as well be over. You know what I mean? They're shuffled out of bed in the morning, stuck into a chair, drugged up, probably fed at dinner time if the staff is available. There's supper time. They might be left in front of them. They might need it. They're still drugged up. They're put back into the chair, and then they're shuffled off the bed again. You know, it was. It's only for people, and I guarantee you, anybody that has been in a nursing home, visiting loved ones for any period of time, will say the same thing. You'll all see the same things, like. But you just kind of go with it, don't you? You just, at least I was there with me, Dad. But I used to always say to myself, well, what happens now when we leave here? How do they get them into bed? I used to wonder, my father loved to chat, especially, and talk. And he'd love to walk around and talk to all the people, which he did up there in his walker. But I used to say to myself, how did they keep him in his room at night? How did they keep him asleep? Because I knew what he was like. He would get up and wonder, in a good way, and not doing any harm. But were they drugging him up? I don't know. That was the first nursing home. But anyway.
But to go back to that point, so they were being somewhat starved of food, but then they were being starved of, mental stimulation. Yes. They're being starved of community, of conversation. If you're drugged up, then you're not probably you're being starved of physical exercise. There's so much not happening that would ensure a better quality of life, and also would ensure that your life will end sooner than it should.
Yeah.
All these things need to be questioned. I don't know if you know anything, and I'll have to do a bit of research on this, because this is something that keeps coming into my mind. But this arrangement with the government and the nursing home, this fair deal scheme, I don't know if you had any dealing with that.
I don't know. I can't remember.
Kieran, can you hold there?
Yeah.
I just have to just give me 2 seconds. Yeah. I'll edit this out after. I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Tell me about the fair deal scheme.
Well, I remember the first nursing home. You see, the hospital, they do most of all that work for you. It seems to me that there's people in the hospitals pushing the nursing homes. Now, I know that sounds strange, but
That's your opinion, yeah?
that's my opinion. Especially the first time my father went to the nursing home, I knew well enough there's no way he needed to go to the nursing home. Absolutely not. But they pushed it on us. But the fair deal scheme, I remember his pension paid for most of it, and we had to, the family, we used to have to pay a little bit extra to top up to get up to the payments. Like you had to pay for different things in the nursing homes, for haircuts and diet stuff and all these medications and all these other yokes. They were on top of the main
accommodation and food,
Yeah. That was in the first nursing home, but he wasn't there long enough to realize the exact money going on. But in the second nursing home, we'll get to that in a minute.
I mean, I think it's an important part of the conversation, because the first thing that struck me when you said, I mean, first of all, he's strapped into a chair. That's because there's enough staff in the hospital. They're saying he can't walk, so he has to go to a nursing home. Then he gets to the nursing home, and the nursing, he's buzzing around the nursing home with his walking frame.
On wheels,
and they're saying we took him off all the medication. Probably you guys didn't know that he was on all this medication that was keeping him in a certain state of state in the hospital. The thing about the hospital saying he has to go to a nursing home because he can't walk. Next thing he gets to the nursing home and he's flying around.
Yeah.
That seems dodgy. Also, the fact that you guys, they weren't saying to you, what do you think? Like, we feel like he should be in a nursing home, but do you guys want to take him home for a while and see how that goes?
Well, that's exactly what we wanted. But we were told no. He would.
Surely it's your decision.
But it wasn't. It was just pushed on us. He just kept, every time we said he is able to walk, if you let him out of the chair, he'll walk. I knew my dad. He kept telling me, they won't let me out of the chair. I need to go to the toilet. And every time he wanted to go to the toilet, the orderly would take him out of the chair and bring him to the toilet.
So
he was well able to go himself. I knew that.
When you were told you had to go to a nursing home and that was the hospital's decision, was there a point where you had to sign something that meant that his pension went straight to the nursing home?
Oh, yeah, all the paperwork, had to be done. I think I had to go back down to Wexford a few days later and sign all these jokes. And it's all a blur now.
No. I think this is important. I think it's interesting because it's important to look at the steps that happen, because obviously there's things happening. It's a bit of a blur. But if I'm looking at this and I'm going, you're brought into a room, you're told, it's not a choice. You're told he has to go to a nursing home, and then you have to sign over the man's pension to pay for the nursing home. I just want to make that. I want to highlight that thing for people.
Well, see, I don't know how it'll work out if we had loads of money. But this was the only thing we could do. We were told, right, this is a fair deal scheme. This is how it works. I can't remember all the details, to be honest with you. But
I mean, if you'd loads of money,
obviously we had to sign over something that his pension went to pay for it, and if there was any extra to be paid, that we all split in and we paid the balance. That's all I remember.
I would hate to think that hospitals or somebody in the hospitals are filling places in nursing homes, or there's some. I'd hate to think there's an incentive for somebody to do that.
Yeah, and then when the nursing home was picked, I remember we got a phone call to say, I got a phone call, because I was my father's care at the time. I got a phone call to say that someone out of the nursing home was going down to Wexford to observe your father to see if he was suitable for their nursing home. Which, looking back on it, like, is they go down to see, will we take him, will we not take him? And then, should we take him? You know, that kind of way. Just think about it. Like, you
Yeah,
know,
I mean, is it like that he's bad enough, or that he's good enough, or
I have no idea. I have no idea.
Have a look.
You tell me.
Have a look at him and see if the papers are signed. See if the
Probably. I don't know.
If his pension has been signed over. Anyway, we're only expressing opinions here, just in case.
Yeah.
So tell me then about. So that was 2017. That was a stroke. What happened? Are we going to 2021 now then? So he's at home for 4 years then.
We're home for 2.5 years. We're going to 2020.
Okay.
Around July, August, sometime around August. Now, at this stage, my father had dementia, right? And we were having a few problems at nighttime with him. He kept getting up. He'd be up every half hour and back to bed. And I was staying there, and the family were staying there. We'd take turns sleeping on the sofa, and he'd be in and out, in and out. So we had a carer that used to come in for an hour to wash him and stuff like that. And I said to her, I said, he's getting a bit hard to handle at nighttime. I said, is there anything we can do as medication or whatever? Like, surely, if they're able to keep him quiet in nursing homes, why can't we be giving something at home to keep him quiet at nighttime? That's the way I was thinking. So she got me in touch with the community health nurse, and the community health nurse called up. Now, remember, this is during COVID. Now, we were after keeping my father safe from that March, I suppose, up to August. And some of the family were after having COVID and all, but we kept him safe anyway. So the community health nurse checked his heart and checked this and that. And she said, there might be something, a little mumber in his heart there or something. Will you bring him to the doctor? I said, I will. So she didn't say anything about sleeping at night and all, but I said I'll discuss that with the doctor when I get over. She said, yeah, grand. So I made a phone call and arranged to bring my father over the next day. But in the meantime, she phoned me back that evening. She said, did you make an appointment? I said, I did. I have to bring him over tomorrow. Oh, that's okay. She said, who did you get? So I said, I got the main doctor himself. And I won't mention any names. She said, oh, no, you're not getting him, are you? And I said, because there's 4 or 5 doctors in the same.
Yeah, so that was interesting, the story about the doctor and his relationship with that nurse, community nurse. But I'm going to, at the end of this broadcast, I'm going to play the full on a separate stream, but you'll see it. If you're watching this on X, you'll see it pop up on X. So just give me a few minutes and I'll play the full interview. As soon as I finish up here, it'll probably be take about 5 or 10 minutes, so hang tight. It's definitely worth watching. If you don't get to watch it today, you can watch all the interviews back on our YouTube channel. And the interview I did with Julie Grace went out live yesterday, so you could actually watch that back on our X channel. You can watch it back on our YouTube, so it's there if you want to watch the full thing. And I'll probably play it again over the weekend. Okay. And my brain is checked out already. Okay, that's it from us here at MOTH News. Thanks for watching as always. If you have a story, if you want to talk about your experience of the care system, nursing home, if you want to talk about, contact us about, whistleblower questions. If you feel like there's something in your workplace you want to talk about, if you're having difficulty with the HSC, if you're waiting on operations, there's lots of crazy stuff going on there with, delayed operations, hip operations that didn't need to happen, osteoporosis operations for children that's supposed to happen. We will be talking to a mother of a young boy who's due to get an operation done, and they couldn't do it in Ireland, and he was never offered the opportunity to travel out of the country. And the thing was that it was said, oh no, he couldn't travel, and the mother came out and said, oh no, he's fine to travel, he's fit, he just needs to have this operation or he won't be fit. So we'll be talking to that mother next week. And yeah, that's it. I'll just leave you with this breaking news. I just think this is probably the most important story of the day. Stevie Wonder says he is blind. That's it from us. Enjoy your weekend. Thanks for watching. Except you, Stevie.